Chapter 415. Seeing that Garashi had returned, the third-generation Star Shadow nervously stepped forward and asked, "Sir Garashi, is our illness really related to Star?" Garashi nodded with a solemn expression. Star is the source of everything. Hearing that this conjecture was confirmed, the crowd wailed. Why is this happening? Star, which we regard as a treasure, is the source of all disasters? This is not a gift from God, but the temptation of the devil. It was not that none of them could think of this, but they did not want to think about it. On the one hand, Star Chakra was the power that Star Hermit relied on to survive. On the other hand, the activated body when practicing Star Chakra was a positive feedback in most cases, which made them feel lucky in their hearts. Now that Garashi had exposed it, they could no longer deceive themselves. The moment he heard this answer, the third-generation Star Shadow seemed to have aged by more than 10 years in an instant. He blamed himself. If I could stop practicing Star earlier, everyone would not have to suffer this kind of torture. However, Garashi shook his head slightly. Stopping practice can only prevent the subsequent tragedies from happening, but the existing illness will not disappear. The illness will not disappear because of stopping practice? No wonder. The third-generation Star Shadow smiled bitterly. I thought that the 2 years of suspension of practice was not long enough. After that he asked again, Sir Garashi, can our illness be cured? Under the nervous and expectant eyes of the crowd, Garashi nodded. Yes, but the price is that you can no longer use Star Chakra. Hearing this, the smile that had just appeared on the third-generation Star Shadow's face stiffened, but soon he sighed. I was too greedy. I am very lucky to be able to avoid the torture of illness. However, this old man has lived for so long, and I am already used to the pain of illness. I don't want to trouble Sir Garashi to treat me. Hearing his request, everyone was shocked. Sir Star Shadow, you. They soon understood that Sir Star Shadow said this in order to preserve the strength to protect the village. Thinking of this, a few more determined voices came from the crowd. I don't need it either. After being tortured by the illness for so long, I'm still not used to it. While this village suffered, it also gained something precious. Garashi secretly sighed in his heart, looked at the third Hoshikage and said, if you are worried that you will lose your power if you lose your star, you don't have to. We would have opened all the low-level ninjutsu resources. You can use these ninjutsu to replace the peacock secret art. Intermediate and low-level ninjutsu aren't precious, but that's relative to the 5 great ninja villages. For these small ninja villages, even a C-class ninjutsu is a precious treasure. However, Sandame smiled bitterly. If we can, we also want to try to make changes, but Hagakure is a place that is favored by the stars. We don't have the qualifications to practice other ninjutsu except for chakra. I know, Garashi said calmly. You can't practice other ninjutsu because of Hoshi. What? Sandame was surprised. It's not because we don't have enough qualifications. Garashi said. When I went to the ancestral hall, I found that the power of Hoshi is very overbearing, and it doesn't allow you to have extra energy to practice other ninjutsu. That's why your practice of other ninjutsu is bound to fail. Even with Sandame's good attitude, he couldn't help but curse at this moment. This Yuan meteor stone is too much of a scam. Is it a treasure or something? At this time, Garashi said, in fact, your worries are reasonable. It takes time to change to other ninjutsu, and during this time, there is a possibility for others to take advantage of. Well, I will leave you the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. If you encounter any danger, I will come in time. He didn't have the cheek to ask for it, but Garashi took the initiative to ask for it. Sandame was moved. Garashi-sama, I really don't know how to thank you. Everyone around was also grateful. Oh, if only Garashi-sama was a member of Hoshi. This kind of thing is impossible. It's better to say that Hoshi was merged into Woodleaf. Sandame coughed a few times and pretended that he didn't hear these words. Garashi-sama, we don't have any valuable gifts. The only thing we can take out is Hoshi. After that, he hurriedly added, I don't want to bite the hand that feeds me. I just think that Hoshi is really rare, and it's a pity to throw it away like this. If it's you, Garashi-sama, maybe you don't have to worry about the contamination of Hoshi. right? Hoshi. Garashi pretended to be surprised and asked. I'm not afraid. But Hoshi is named after Hoshi. Is it really okay to give it to me? Sandaime waved his hand again and again. No matter how precious Hoshi is, I don't dare to leave it in the village. If it can help you, Garashi, that would be great. Everyone around also spoke. Garashi-sama, you don't have to be polite. If worst comes to worst, we will change our name to Qing Ninja Village. Since he had put it this way, Shushi could no longer refuse. Then I'll accept it. Everyone in Hoshi was relieved. Finally, the scourge was sent out. Shushi heaved a sigh of relief. He had finally gotten the Yuan meteor stones. Of course, he didn't lie. Hoshi is indeed a scourge for Hoshi, and there is a certain danger around him. But after all, it's an opportunity to study Otsutsuki. So naturally, he didn't want to give it up. After the exchange, Garashi directly separated two with clone jutsu, 3 days. Moon flow medical ninjutsu. At the same time outside Hoshi, Mercy String crossed through space and stood on a big tree. That guy is treating others? He didn't care about Garashi's behavior of clearing data for others. After all, he didn't expect the Hoshi to find a suitable tool for him. He just threw the Hoshi outside with the mentality of playing around and seeing if he can catch a few big fishes. What he cares about is how long the other party will treat them. Do I have to wait outside all the time? Thinking of this, Mercy String had an impulse to rush in directly, but he forced himself to hold back. No, although it's easy to kill them, it's a bit troublesome to make sure that their souls don't escape. As long as a fish escapes the net, Rakuto will be able to trace it to me from the underworld. Forget it, I'll wait for a while more. I even waited for Kagaya's infinite Tsukuyami. I don't care now. Then 3 days passed. Chapter 416. Outside Hoshi village, Sishian's face was a little dark. If he were to do the same thing, an hour would be enough. However, that human brat had spent 3 whole days doing it. I shouldn't have expected anything from these low-level races. Sishian shook his head slightly. Of course, he withdrew from the wedge form as early as the first day. That form consumes a lot of power. And if he keeps it on, he will die before the human brat comes out. Fortunately, that human brat is finally coming out. At the gate of Hoshi village, Garashi took the meteorite carefully handed over by the third Hoshi. Garashi-sama, we are really very grateful. The third Hoshi sincerely thanked him. Behind him, everyone warmly said goodbye. Garashi-sama, thank you. Remember to come and see us in the future. Thank you, everyone. I will remember you. Garashi waved and turned away. No one left. They seemed to express their gratitude by looking at him. It wasn't until Soseki's back could no longer be seen that Sandaime Hokage let out a long sigh. Fortunately, we have a powerful and kind-hearted person like Sama Soseki in this era. Otherwise, I don't know what the future of our small shinobi village will be like. Let's go back. Go back and practice hard. Don't let down Garashi, Sama's kindness. With Garashi's speed, he soon left Hoshi village and entered a peaceful forest. But he still had some doubts in his heart. I deliberately slowed down the healing speed to give Aizen enough time to observe the surroundings. But after 3 days, I didn't even notice the slightest difference. Did I guess wrong? Just as he was secretly guessing, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. His powerful sixth sense made him feel as if there was a knife at his back. Someone is attacking from behind. Although he didn't know how the other party did it, Garashi still subconsciously wanted to use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. However, the Flying Thunder God technique, which had always worked, suddenly lost its effectiveness at this moment. He couldn't sense any of the tactics that served as coordinates. What? It turned out to be a space lock. Garashi's face changed slightly. Even he didn't expect that the hidden enemy could do this. After perceiving that the Flying Thunder God technique had failed, Shushi quickly covered himself with a layer of ice release, and then activated his blood and chi, covering himself with a layer of armament haki under the ice layer. Behind him, Sishian, who had shrunk himself to the size of a speck of dust, noticed Garashi's actions and was a little surprised. Even the pure-blooded Otsutsuki were rarely able to detect this move of his, but this human actually did it. Unfortunately, it's too late. Sishian changed his body size back to its original size, and the terrifying power accumulated instantly poured into Garashi's body like a flood. With this punch, even the solidified space rippled slightly. The fist landed on Shushi's back, and with a loud bang, the ice layer instantly shattered. Shushi's entire body spurted out a bloody mist, and he was blasted into the ground at an extremely fast speed. The thick layers of the earth collapsed and fractured, as if they were about to pierce through the core of the earth. Underground, Garashi was still hitting the ground. Fortunately, only half of the bones in my body are broken, and my spine is broken. It's not a big problem. Shushi's face was indifferent as he calculated in his heart. He did not care that he was still falling through the ground in a sorry state. Then he tried to communicate with Aizen. The space coordinates were like a stone sinking into the sea. He couldn't communicate with him at all. Sure enough, the space lock can't be blocked by the ground. Garashi sighed. These Otsutsuki's methods are really powerful. I was careless. He had asked Aizen to prepare in advance, so that he could pass through space at the fastest speed in case of danger. But he didn't expect that the hidden Otsutsuki could do this. Even the surrounding space was blocked. But I'm not without a way. These thoughts flashed through Shushi's mind like lightning, and he made up his mind within a few microseconds of being sent flying. In the distance, Aizen, who was hiding in the dark, suddenly twisted and disappeared from this world. It was as if he had become one with the space around him. The next moment, his body appeared in the dream world. For others, the dream world was a carrier of consciousness, and their bodies couldn't enter. Even the Pure Land, which was the blueprint of the dream world, was a carrier of souls, and its owner, the Six Paths, could only enter as a soul. But Aizen was different. His outer shell was the dragon vein chakra, and it was almost the same as the natural energy that built the dream world. Crossing the net to hit people was like an instinct to him. In the blink of an eye, Aizen had already left the dream world and merged with Garashi. Garashi's eyes were bright, and his injuries were recovering at a rapid speed. He used the demon's method to refine his body, so his body wasn't inferior to Otsutsuki's. Coupled with the Six Paths domain, his injuries were not worth mentioning. But it's still not enough. Even though he had only caught a glimpse of it, he could sense that it was even more powerful than his body integration stage powers. If his fusion 3 years ago was at the bottom of the Six Paths level, now it should be at the middle level, and Aizen's strength was close to the high level. Under normal circumstances, this gap was nothing to be afraid of. Just as he thought before, if he couldn't win, he could escape. But the problem was that Aizen had sealed time. Moreover, he didn't know how long it had been sealed. It was obvious that Aizen came with the intention of killing him. The most important thing was that Aizen's ability to hide his aura was too terrifying, even shrinking himself to a speck of dust. If it wasn't for his sixth sense, he might have been in real danger. Such a terrible enemy. Even if I can't kill him, I have to make him fear me. Garashi's blood was burning madly, and a steady stream of power emerged from every corner of his body. Hashiman Tanku, open rest life injury block view shock death all open. At this moment on the ground, only half a second had passed since he launched his attack. Cian calmly looked at the abyss that had been created by his attack. It's been too long since I've made a move. I might have accidentally used too much force and killed him. Saying that, he shook his head slightly. But it doesn't matter, I'll just resurrect him. Just as he flew down and was about to fish out Garashi's body, a red light suddenly lit up in the darkness. What is this? Sishian didn't have time to think before his face was distorted by a punch that was far beyond the speed of sound. However, at the moment he was hit, he saw the true face of the red light. It turned out to be boiling blood, a raging flame. Chapter 417. Pain, a pain that went deep into his bones. But Sishian was more at a loss at this moment. He was completely stunned by Garashi's violent beating. An inferior human being was able to survive after being hit by his attack, and even burst out with this level of power. This was illogical. However, Garashi didn't care whether it was illogical or not. This bastard dared to assassinate him, and even forced him to take out 2 of his trump cards. This was simply unforgivable. Physique that surpassed the limits of human beings, the support of the pseudo-tin-tailed Jinchuriki, the endless dragon vein chakra, and the extreme state brought about by the Hashiman Tonku array, Garashi's eruption reached an incredible level at this moment. In an instant he threw out 1,000 punches. Sishien's full-strength attack only caused the solidified space to ripple slightly, but Garashi's attack caused the space to shake violently, as if even space couldn't bear his power. Sishien's body was like a delicate porcelain doll, directly shattering. Except for his head that he was desperately protecting, the other parts of his body were almost instantly obliterated. Not even the slightest bit of flesh was left. And his head wasn't much better. His facial features were distorted, and the horns on his head were also broken. Damn it, why did it have to be a physical skill? Sishian roared in his heart. This was a situation that he had never imagined before. How could a human who used chakra as his foundation beat him? Who used chakra as his food? As for physical skills, how could a human whose body was so weak that it could be killed by iron weapons have any powerful physical skills? But it turned out that he was wrong. This human was simply like an ancient Tyrannosaurus Rex, crazily ravaging his body, and he couldn't use his spatial ability to dodge. The saddest thing was that he himself was the one who put him in this situation. Even he couldn't remove the solidified space, and could only wait for the solidified time to pass. How long has it been? 1 second or 2 seconds? Sishian thought in pain. He had never felt that 3 seconds was so long. If this goes on, I will die. Sishian was frightened, and at the same time, he felt that it was absurd. Kagaya's sneak attack didn't kill him. Samsara's little ghost didn't discover him. And he had been here for 1,000 years. In the end, he died in the hands of a human, because of a sneak attack. Of course, he wouldn't die immediately. He could still reincarnate. If he was forced to reincarnate in this way, he could indeed block the other party's attack. It was even possible for him to suppress the other party. But in that case, he would only be left with 2 or 3 days to live after reincarnating with an unsuitable weapon. This amount of time was not enough for him to find a suitable weapon. As for Garashi, there was no saving him. He could tell that the perfect body that he had set his eyes on had been destroyed by the burning of its potential. Even if it was resurrected, it would not be able to be saved. Moreover, even if there was no such thing, it would be very difficult for him to carve a wedge in the other party's body within 2 or 3 days. Damn it! How can I die here? At this moment, the cooldown time of the young master Taguna that he kept triggering finally passed. The next moment, his head shrank again and floated in the air like a speck of dust. Of course, he knew that it was impossible for him to hide from the other party's perception in this state. However, with such a small body, the amount of force he could withstand was much less than before. This move again. Garashi naturally wouldn't waste time. Although he had a backup plan to deal with the aftereffects of the 8 gates, he wouldn't be able to take it if it dragged on. He would really die. Ninjutsu, chaotic lion's hair technique. The hair on top of Garashi's head fluttered, and the soft hair became like steel needles. No, it was far more terrifying than steel needles. After reducing the contact area, the pressure at the end of the hair became ridiculously strong. Sishian floated quietly in the air, and felt that the sharpness was going to pierce him full of holes. Then the stable space broke like a piece of paper. Sishian, who was originally in despair, and could only wait for his body to be crushed, and then be forced to reincarnate, was stunned when he saw this scene. Then he was overjoyed. Although it was only a small hole, it was enough for him to escape. He didn't want to die together with this madman. The next moment, he decisively used his spatial ability to escape. Garashi was also stunned. He didn't expect that he would be so strong after extreme overlay. Although it was a pity to let the other party escape, knowing that he could barely break through space was a comfort. At least, if he encountered such a situation in the future, he wouldn't have no way to escape. After being stunned for a moment, Garashi felt that the spatial seal around him had disappeared. From the time he was attacked until now, it was almost 3 seconds. So this guy is like me, a 3-second man? Although he was cursing in his heart, Garashi didn't underestimate the other party because of this. At their level, 3 seconds is enough to kill the enemy 1,000 times. I can't stay here any longer. Looking at the bottomless abyss under his feet, Garashi shook his head slightly. With such a big movement, I think Rakuto will soon notice it. Thinking of this, Garashi used Flying Thunder God Jutsu to instantly escape the scene of the crime. Sure enough, not long after the space barrier disappeared, a tyrannical soul swept past. The will of Rakuto hovered in the sky. Looking at the abyss below, he couldn't help but hesitate. Such a big movement, I didn't notice it. Is it the main family of Otsutsuki? But according to Mother, the main family is some arrogant people. If they find out the problem of this world, they should directly destroy the world. Also, to be able to cause such a scene in the battle, it means that both sides of the battle are Otsutsuki. Is it internal strife? Sigh, this world is so complicated that even I can't understand it. Thinking of this, he looked into the distance with a heavy gaze. My children, you must grow up as soon as possible. Only you can bear my power and become the new guardian of this world. After using Flying Thunder God Jutsu several times, Garashi finally felt relieved when he returned to Ryumayaku. Only in this place where Ryumayaka's chakra gathered, he wasn't afraid of being secretly observed. At this time, he seemed to have reached his limit. His body twisted, and Aizen's body separated from his body. However, the two people separated from each other were two extremes. Garashi's face was ruddy, and he was full of energy. It was impossible to tell that he was seriously injured. Aizen's body was full of cracks, and he instantly shattered after being separated. But as a pure energy body, he quickly reformed and shattered. This repeated 3 times in a row, and Aizen's state barely stabilized. However, he was extremely weak at the moment. His energy reserves were only 70%. In other words, I can only open the 8 gates for 10 seconds at most. Garashi stood aside and rubbed his chin. He was actually very satisfied with this result. After all, if he didn't transfer all the damage to the Jubi, he wouldn't dare to use the Hashiman Tanku. 10 seconds of true man was already very lucky. Chapter 418. However, the enemy who attacked me today made me a little concerned. He didn't seem to be in his peak state. He wasn't even in the form of Otsutsuki, but more like a human than Otsutsuki. After thinking about the 10 seconds of being a real man, Garashi officially thought about the enemy he encountered today. Although he didn't have much memory of the Otsutsuki trio, he probably knew that they were all aliens with pale skin and long horns on their heads, and there were few black marks on their bodies. And the person who attacked him today, except for the long horns on his head, the rest of his body features were more like a human with a curse mark. Could it be that he is in a half-dead state like Orochimaru in the original track? He needs to live with the help of a human body. If that's the case, is the purpose of his attack today for my body? Thinking of Orochimaru's training of Kimimaro as a vessel in the original work, Garashi's pupil shrank. In that case, the Shell organization secretly collects talented children, maybe to prepare a suitable vessel for him. Although there is no clear evidence pointing to the other party as the leader of the Shell organization, the clues at hand are enough for him to start associating. The Shell organization is supported by a different space and is powerful. It's likely that Otsutsuki is behind it. And with the pride of that group of Otsutsuki, they can hide and develop quietly, indicating that the state of the person behind them shouldn't be good. That's why he met today's enemy. Moreover, the other party's human form can also be related to the purpose of the Shell organization to collect talented children. Thinking of this, Garashi couldn't help but secretly rejoice. Fortunately, the other party came to attack today. Otherwise, if he really sent Kimimaro and Haku into the Shell organization, he might have helped the other party. The plan remains the same, but the preparation work needs to be improved. Garashi thought to himself, leave a backup plan in Kimimaro and Haku's bodies in advance. It's best if they can swallow Otsutsuki like Sasuke in the original work backfiring on Orochimaru. Let them replace Otsutsuki and become my most powerful assistant. Although Sasuke's action of backfiring on Orochimaru wasn't perfect, and even had the intention of Orochimaru, he can also give them a push at a critical moment like Itachi. Compared to the possible benefits of completing the plan, the risk was not even worth mentioning. However, if I want to leave something in Kimimaro and Haku's body, I must first thoroughly study the Yuan Meteor Stone. If I'm not mistaken, his method of possession should be the power left in the bodies of the shinobis of the nebula after they cultivated the planet-form chakra. Just nice. I can use this period of time to study the Yuan Meteor Stones. Garashi shook his head slightly at the thought of going into hibernation. The loss of the Dragon Vein chakra was easy to replenish. He could just charge it at the Dragon Vein. However, the core of the Tintails had to slowly recover. Of course, this was already considered good. If it were any other tailed beast, even if they had the Dragon Vein chakra as a buffer, such injuries would be enough to cause them to collapse completely. Ordinary tailed beasts would take a few years to be reborn after death, but the core of the tin-tailed beast would only take a few months to recover. In addition, I hope that the aura of the tin-tailed beast that I accidentally leaked at the end will make him think that I'm a spy of the Six Paths. Garashi sighed slightly. He didn't want to do this, but being targeted by such a dangerous enemy was a bit troublesome. This kind of troublesome guy should be left to the Six Paths. In a different dimension, a group of subordinates was waiting for their leader to return. Hey, why hasn't the leader come back yet? It's been 3 days. Could it be that he got lost? Of course, they didn't think that their leader was in danger. With their leader's strength, there may be people in this world who can affect his plan, but there is absolutely no one who can threaten his safety. Just as they were discussing like this, the space door was opened. Leader! Leader! A person greeted with joy, then was frightened by the scene in front of him. A head whose facial features could barely be seen flew out from behind the door. Its face was covered in blood, and had swollen to twice its original size. Of course, they were not frightened by such a horrifying scene, but by the deeper meaning behind it. Their leader shouted the slogan, "A lion will use all its strength to catch a rabbit, to ambush a human," but he was beaten until only his head flew back. Was their leader really a god? Was there such a god in the world? For a moment, many blasphemous and disrespectful thoughts appeared in their minds. Cixien, who was lucky enough to escape, didn't pay attention to their thoughts. Instead, he calmly pondered and finally came to a conclusion. I've been tricked by the Six Paths. Hearing Cixien's words, everyone was a bit surprised. They knew a little about the Six Paths. They looked at each other and asked carefully, "Isn't it a human?" "A human?" Cixien sneered. "A guy who can take a full blow from me and use strength that surpasses mine in a short time is a human? When I first escaped, I thought he was the Six Paths backup plan. But now that I think about it, something doesn't seem right. There is a limit to how much power a human can carry. Also, although the Six Paths brat is in a better state than I am, there is no way he could have given a human to surpass me with just a bit of power. Moreover, I vaguely feel the aura of the Jubi on him. So the only possibility is that the human named Shimizu Garashi is the reincarnation of the Six Paths." Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. No wonder. I was wondering how an ordinary human could have such a high talent. That's right. A person without any noble bloodline can grow faster than anyone. This doesn't make sense. Knowing all ninjutsu, it's very reasonable for the reincarnation of the Six Paths to be proficient in all ninjutsu. Since he's reincarnated, does that mean there's no one guarding the underworld? Can we? Cixien frowned. It's impossible for the Six Paths to leave such a big flaw. Moreover, I can vaguely feel the existence of his will. So I suspect that he separated his power and soul, reincarnation of the soul, and his power as a puppet to monitor the world. Thinking of this, Cixien sighed. It's a pity. If I could have noticed this earlier, I would have killed him in advance. Now he has become so powerful that he even dares to use himself as bait to lure me out. Cixien-sama, what should we do next? Cixien's eyes were gloomy. My body could have lasted for 30 years, but after being tricked by him, it can only last for 15 years at most. And I have to spend a lot of time repairing my body. Taking a deep breath, Cixien continued. Continue to be dormant, find a suitable container for me, and increase the production of scientific ninja tools, and be prepared to fight with them. Chapter 419. After the 5 Kages convention, the ninja world has been in turmoil. Although the 5 great ninja villages and the Akatsuki organization restrained themselves from starting a war, small-scale conflicts continued one after another, and these conflicts were mainly reflected in the small ninja villages. Everyone understood that the war was bound to break out. It was just a matter of time. In this situation, fighting for as much strength as possible became an inevitable trend. However, when everyone was eager to become a ninja, the fields were abandoned. Although ninjutsu can promote the development of agriculture to some extent, there are only a few people who can calm down and farm after mastering the power. And in the chaotic situation of the ninja world, there is a lack of soil for them to farm peacefully. This led to the scarcity of food, the price of food rose, and various bandits and robbers ran rampant. The situation worsened, and food became even more scarce. It was like an endless cycle. Moreover, the scene that Reikich predicted that day also appeared. The unrestrained power was like a dragon that broke free from its cage. Killing people became normal, and the occasional battle affected the innocent became a reality. Except for the 5 great ninja villages, the entire ninja world almost fell into a kind of frenzy, as if the world was sick. Under such treacherous circumstances, another 4 years had passed. Woodleaf, Uchiha clan. When I was on a mission a few days ago, I found that more and more refugees from all over the country of fire were coming to Woodleaf. Itachi, dressed as an Umbu ninja, was puzzled. There was no war. Why did it become like this? Because the world is sick, Shursui said firmly. Is the world sick? Itachi's face was complicated. As the future patriarch who was thrown to the battlefield by his father at the age of 4, his thoughts were indeed more mature than his peers. If this continues, the peace in Woodleaf won't last long, right? Shursui sighed. As long as Woodleaf still belongs to the ninja world, it is impossible to escape from this whirlpool. Itachi's eyes were confused. Is it really like what the Akatsuki said? Must we use a vigorous revolution to clean up the disease, destroy the existing order, and let the ninja world rise again from the ruins is the solution? I don't know whether Akatsuki is right or not, but I know, Shursui said. In order to end this chaotic situation, someone must stand up and use a strong hand to end the chaos. Itachi had a strange look in his eyes. Where have I heard this before? Is there anything else? The great change in the ninja world is both a challenge and an opportunity. As long as we grasp the opportunity, we can unify the scattered ninja world into a powerful whole. Shursui laughed awkwardly. Itachi, you've also read Shimura's diary? Itachi was speechless. I just didn't expect you to support Lord Naruto. How is this possible? Shursui shrugged. Although it doesn't match Naruto-sama, it's true. It's very appropriate to use it on another senior. Needless to say, Itachi knew who that senior was, so he didn't say much. Instead, he asked with a solemn expression, Are you planning to use your ability on Lord Naruto? Shursui gently pressed his eyebrows, and the 3 tomo in his pupils rotated rapidly, turning into a square shuriken shape. That senior told me not to use the ability of my eyes for the time being, and to continue practicing Jinjutsu. With your Jinjutsu, you still want to continue practicing? Itachi was shocked at first, but then he calmed down and said, But it's true. Even if you open Manjikyu Sharingan, without practicing it, it's difficult to help Lord. Don't talk about me, what about you? Shursui laughed. Didn't I tell you how to open your eyes? I can't do it. It's too difficult to experience a lot of negative emotions, and even witness the death of a loved one. Itachi sighed and asked, How did you do it? I haven't heard that you have any relatives or friends who died. That senior once told me that love can be divided into big love and small love. It's because I witnessed the world of infinite love become what it is today, that I opened Manjikyu Sharingan. Shursui touched his eyes with emotion. I opened this pair of eyes that want to change the status quo. Itachi was quite shocked and muttered to himself. Big love and small love? Shursui nodded again and again. How is it? Do you have the feeling of opening your eyes? I don't know. Itachi touched his chest. I also have the love for the world. but it doesn't seem to be enough to open my eyes. Is it because my love for the world is not deep enough? At this time, a cheering voice came from the distance. Oni-san, Oni-san, I learned the great fireball jutsu. Sasuke excitedly ran to Itachi and said, looking at the happy Sasuke with a face full of praise me, Itachi and Shursui were full of doubts. Is learning the great fireball jutsu something to show off? They just looked at it a few times before entering the school. Looking at the 7-year-old Sasuke, Itachi's eyes were full of sympathy for the disabled and encouraged him. Sasuke, you are a genius. Hey! Sasuke smiled embarrassedly, then waved his small fist. Oni-san, I will surpass you. Itachi smiled and touched Sasuke's head. Well, you can do it. Shursui looked at them and wondered. Is the key to Itachi's Manjikyu Sharingan? Should I play a little joke with Itachi? Shursui inexplicably designed in his mind the scene of Fugaku clan chief killing Sasuke and claiming that Sasuke was disabled, so it was better to use him to test Itachi's tolerance. Forget it, I feel like Itachi will turn against me. Shursui sighed, then interrupted the conversation between the two and said, I still have a task, so I'll go first. Goodbye, Oni-san. Worried that Shursui would go back on his words, Sasuke quickly shouted sweetly, finally, he can drive away the annoying guy who took away his brother. Shursui naturally saw Sasuke's thoughts and couldn't help laughing and jumped away. After Shursui left, Sasuke blinked his eyes and looked forward to it. Oni-san, teach me other ninjutsu. However, Itachi's mind was full of love, so he didn't have the mood to play with him. He apologetically tapped Sasuke's forehead. Forgive me, Sasuke, I'll teach you next time. Hearing this perfunctory answer, Sasuke's cheeks puffed up like a blowfish. This again, I'm angry, the kind that can't be coaxed. Itachi nodded. Oh, then I won't coax you. After leaving, Shursui avoided the sight of some people in the village and came to a forest. Looking around, Shursui said in a deep voice, I came as promised. A voice came from the shadow behind him. Have you decided? Shursui turned around and looked at the mysterious man, wearing a whirlpool mask in front of him. What did you mean by what you said to me the day before yesterday? Bordered Soil said. Uchiha has walked on the cliff, and only you can save it. Chapter 420. On the edge of the cliff? Shursui frowned and asked. Why didn't I see it? You are in the situation, so of course you don't see it as clearly as I do, Bordered Soil said calmly. The crisis of the Uchiha comes from both the clan and the Woodleaf clan. The clan? Shursui's eyes were dignified. It seems that you know a lot of things. Obito didn't express his opinion and just said with a sigh. Oh, the Uchiha clan is a very emotional clan, therefore, the probability of the Uchiha clan producing geniuses and fools is always much higher than other clans. This is the source of disaster. For example, 7 years ago during the Kyubi rebellion, there were Uchiha elders who suggested to your patriarch to control the Kyubi. They had this stupid idea because they knew that your patriarch Fugaku had awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the strength of the Manjikyu recorded in the clan gave them confidence in confidence. How do you know this? Shursui was shocked. This is top secret information in the clan. Even he revealed his Manjikyu Sharingan in front of the patriarch and was promoted to the top. Bordered Soil didn't answer, but continued. Now, you have also awakened the Manjikyu Sharingan, and the genius Uchiha Itachi seems to be showing signs of awakening the Manjikyu Sharingan. If those idiots who can't see the situation know that the Uchiha have 3 pairs of Manjikyu Sharingan, what do you think they will do? Shursui was silent for a moment and said bitterly, the patriarch will not agree with them doing that. Bordered Soil chuckled softly. Public opinion can be manipulated. When most of the Uchiha are dominated by the same voice, what can you do? Use your genjutsu to change their minds. Shursui's eyes suddenly became fierce. I only told Itachi and the other top clans about my ability. How do you know? Who are you? Don't be angry, they will tell me. Because my name is. Bordered Soil said calmly. Uchiha Madara. Madara? Shursui was shocked, and then shook his head. Impossible. Madara was killed by Shodame-sama in the Battle of the Valley of the End. I did die, but I came back to life, the Bordered Soil said calmly. You should be able to guess why Izanagi. It turned out to be Izanagi. Hearing the other party mention the forbidden jutsu of the Uchiha clan, Shursui reluctantly believed it. Let's get back to the topic, Bordered Soil continued. In addition to not being able to see the situation clearly, the Uchiha's current situation is also the main reason why they chose to be radical. With Shimizu Garashi around, Danzo doesn't dare to go too far in some things, but correspondingly, Shimizu Garashi can't interfere too much in some small things. Moreover, Naruto's approach has also become much smarter. Now he rarely takes action himself. Instead, he magnifies the conflict between some villagers and the Uchiha clan, and labels some ordinary conflicts as the bullying of civilians. And our Uchiha clan has always been arrogant. They don't know how to restrain themselves or explain themselves, and often complicate some simple things. In the past 4 years, the situation of the Uchiha clan should be a lot more difficult, right? Shursui was silent for a moment, and couldn't help but complain. Is that Naruto-sama sick? Why is he targeting the Uchiha clan? Bordered Soil sneered. He is doing this just to prove that he is the one who inherited the will of Knight-Dame Naruto. Proving his legitimacy will allow him to gain more support. For this reason, he is wantonly suppressing a member of the village. Shursui sighed with emotion. It is really the misfortune of the village to have such a person become Naruto. After sighing with emotion, Shursui asked again. You said that the person who can save the Uchiha clan is me. Do you want me to use Jinjutsu to control him? If it was 4 years ago, this might have been effective. Bordered Soil shook his head slightly. But now, the future of the Uchiha clan is no longer something that can be decided by one Naruto. Shursui frowned. Then what do you mean? Bordered Soil took a deep breath and said word by word. Destroy with Leaf and re-establish the order of the shinobi world. Shursui was taken aback. You are crazy, this kind of thing is impossible. Bordered Soil chuckled. Why is it impossible? Shursui shook his head. Let's not talk about how I can destroy with Leaf by myself. Just the existence of Garashi, Sama is doomed to fail. No, you can do it. And only you can do it. Bordered Soil said. Of course, the premise is that you can control a person with Jinjutsu. A person? A person named Aizen. Aizen? Shursui looked at him deeply. I heard that he is a member of the Akatsuki just like you, right? It seems that you know a lot of things after entering the eyes of the higher-ups. Bordered Soil smiled indifferently. It's just that you don't know enough about him. He saved the life of the leader of the Akatsuki, and more than half of the members of the Akatsuki have received his kindness. Many of the plans and decisions of the Akatsuki have also come from his mouth. This man who seems low-key and doesn't have much fame in the ninja world is actually the real core of the Akatsuki. What? That man is actually such a powerful person. Shursui was incredibly shocked and asked, so many people have received his grace, what about you? Bordered Soil's body stiffened, and he changed the topic. That's not important. What's important is, in addition to the Akatsuki, the person who resisted Shimizu Garashi during the 5 Kage tournament 4 years ago is also his friend. In other words, as long as you control Aizen, you control the Akatsuki, and have enough power to resist Shimizu Garashi. In this way, you can do anything you want. Seeing Shursui was silent, Bordered Soil continued. Think about it. People like Shimizu Garashi were forced to leave with Leaf. People like you who loved the village were suppressed. And people like Danzo who used the village as a tool stole Naruto's position. And people like Mitokado Hamura and Udatane Koharu stole the top positions. As for the shinobi world, the Raikage used despicable means to plot against the Byakugan of the Hyuga clan. But didn't he just let it go after that? The Mizukage carried out a bloody rule in Kirin. And after that, he pushed the blame to a person behind the scenes and got away with it. These rulers are the root of the chaos in the shinobi world. Tell me, what's the use of such an unreasonable order? Right now the world is a patient. Only by hardening our hearts and getting rid of all the chronic diseases once and for all can we give it a new life. Although there will be some pain in the short term, in the long term, it is absolutely worth it. So, you are not harming the world but saving it. Chapter 421. Uchiha Madara is an Azura who would kill without saying a word. How can he be so good at talking? Do you think I'm a fool? Shursui thought to himself, but he still pretended to be interested. But I heard that Aizen's Jinjutsu is very powerful. Although my Koto Amatsukami is powerful, it might not be able to control him. If it fails, I will have to wait 10 years before I can use it again. Rest assured I will help you. Seeing Shursui finally take the bait, Bordered Soil's mouth rose slightly under his mask. Wait until I beat Aizen half to death. Then he won't be able to resist. Shursui was still a little hesitant. But his Jinjutsu is very strong, and you said that he has a high position in the Akatsuki. If I fail, it might cause the war to break out ahead of time. His Jinjutsu is indeed a little troublesome. Bordered Soil nodded in agreement. Aizen's Jinjutsu was too terrifying. He couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't fall for it. So, I need another ability of yours. Well, it seems that I have no secrets in front of you. Shursui sighed. Only you can use Jinjutsu in the Forbidden Field. Bordered Soil clapped his hands. It seems useless, but sometimes it can play an irreplaceable role. Shursui nodded slightly. Both of his abilities were powerful, but also had a lot of restrictions. Koto Amatsukami directly changed the mind, but it could only be used once every 10 years. The Forbidden Field had a rule that it could only be used on Jinjutsu. Bordered Soil said. Do you have any other questions? One more thing. Why do you want to help me? Shursui asked suspiciously. I don't remember Uchiha Madara being such a helpful person. Bordered Soil said fiercely. I want to prove that Hashirama is wrong. Choosing Woodleaf between me and Woodleaf is absolutely wrong. Shursui's eyes were strange. Why does this Uchiha Madara seem strange? Seeing Shursui's eyes, Bordered Soil sneered. Imagine, if your good friend Itachi killed you for his younger brother. What kind of feelings would you have for his younger brother? Shursui instantly understood. His tone was complex. I think I understand how you feel now. Bordered Soil snorted. That's it. I'll inform you when the time comes. With that, he voided and disappeared from Shursui's sight. After the Bordered Soil left, the forest became quiet again. A moment later, a tall figure walked out from the shadows. Sai, it's been hard on you. Shursui knelt on one knee and said in a respectful tone. Compared to what Lord Garashi has done for Woodleaf, what I have done is only a trivial part. After being modest, Shursui decisively sold out his ancestor. Lord Garashi, should we chase after them? Garashi smiled and said, Don't worry, this is my clone. My main body has already gone over. Well, I hope Lord Ancestor won't be beaten to a pulp. After a moment of silence for his ancestor, Shursui put him to the back of his mind. After all, Garashi, Sama allowed him to enter the Akatsuki through this route. So naturally, he can't kill the person who claims to be his ancestor. Garashi, Sama, should I use my ability on Aizen? Garashi pondered. If he can defeat Aizen, then it's not a loss to use your ability on him. But in my opinion, his chances are not high. Shursui was surprised. Even if his Jinjutsu is sealed, he's still not Aizen's opponent. For years ago, during the 5 Kage tournament, this masked man used would release. Coupled with the space ability just now, his strength shouldn't be too weak. Garashi nodded with a dignified expression. Although Aizen isn't famous, he's someone who can make me feel fear. Shursui couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. To be able to make Garashi, Sama afraid. It seems that Aizen must be very terrifying. Garashi added. If that person who claims to be Uchiha Madara succeeds, then my worries will be solved. Even if he fails, the Akatsuki will be divided, but for you it's too dangerous. Well, I will imprint the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on your body, and then give you a note with the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. If you encounter any danger, tear the note, and I will immediately use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to rush over. Shursui's heart warmed, but he firmly refused. Know that Aizen is a terrible enemy that even you are afraid of. If I summon you, won't you be in danger? Haha, don't worry. Garashi laughed. Although I'm afraid, I should be a little stronger than him. Well, just like the person who stopped me during the 5 Kage tournament 4 years ago, I'm also afraid of him. Shursui suddenly understood. So Garashi, Sama's fear is just that he won't be beaten to death? I understand. In short, your safety is the most important thing, Garashi said and directly left using the flying thunder god jutsu. After Garashi left, Shursui thought about the ancestor who might be beaten, and his eyes were firm. Don't blame me, ancestor, although what you said is very tempting. I really don't want to believe a person who doesn't even dare to show his face. Moreover, the person who can save the Uchiha is not me but Garashi-sama. After leaving with Leaf's range, Bordered Soil retreated from the virtual state and thought. Don't blame me, Aizen. Although I am grateful that you told me about the Edo Tensei. But who told you to block my way? Originally, he and Black Zetsu didn't want to attack Aizen. After all, that man is too mysterious, and there are very few records of him taking action. So attacking him would be a big risk. But after learning about Shursue's ability, they couldn't help but think. Because the benefits of controlling Aizen are too great. Just like what he said, Aizen is the real core of the Akatsuki. If they can control Aizen, they can make the Akatsuki work for them, and return their plan to the original plan of using the identity of Uchiha Madara as the mastermind behind the Akatsuki, instead of using the identity of Hoodlum to act like a fool. Moreover, even if they fail, it doesn't matter, anyway, they have already planned to drag the Akatsuki into the mud, so it doesn't matter if they fall out sooner or later. Now it doesn't matter anymore. At this moment, a voice sounded in front of him. Akatsuki? Bordered Soil was scared by this voice, and subconsciously wanted to use the virtual state to escape, because he recognized the voice of his senpai, not only because of his senpai's strength, but also the feeling of being caught doing something bad. This is different from the time in the Kirin village. When he was talking to his senpai, he didn't feel anything, but now, there is only a mask between them. I am Uchiha Madara. I am Uchiha Madara. Bordered Soil forced himself to calm down and asked calmly. So it's the god of shinobi, why? Do you want to catch me? However, Garashi's words made him lose his composure. Do we know each other? Chapter 422. Bordered Soil felt his scalp go numb. What's going on? Is he going to expose himself? Although he claims to have given up on human emotions, deep in his heart, he still hopes that they can retain a good impression of his identity as Bordered Soil. The ones who do evil are Hoodlum or Uchiha Madara. Bordered Soil is already dead. Just as Zhang Heng's mind was in a mess, he heard Shushi say, just by hearing my voice, the look in your eyes changed many times. That kind of complicated emotion is not something a stranger can express. So it's my eyes. Yes. Senpai is the person who founded the Psychology Society. The changes in my eyes can't be hidden from him. Thinking of this, Bordered Soil forced himself to calm down, and his eyes no longer fluctuated. It's strange that I can remain calm in front of a monster like you, isn't it? However, Shushi let out a long sigh. You're someone I know. You're someone who once joined the Psychology Society, right? Only they know how to hide their eyes in front of me. Bordered Soil felt like he was struck by lightning. It's over. Senpai must have deliberately tested him. Sure enough, compared with a real genius like Senpai, even if he has been a behind the scenes for so many years, the difference in mentality and IQ is too big. He is completely at the level of being played by Senpai. You. Who the hell are you? Hearing Senpai's question, Bordered Soil subconsciously closed his eyes. He was worried that if he opened his eyes again, all the details would be exposed. Fortunately, I switched my Mangekyo back to the ordinary 3-tomo state when I exited the virtual state. Otherwise, if Senpai saw that the Mangekyo pattern in my eyes is the same as that bastard Kakashi's, wouldn't I be exposed? Garashi continued. I know all the people who came out of the ninja school, and I don't think anyone can hide their strength in front of me. So you are most likely someone who died in a mission or war, right? Of course, I am more inclined to think that you are a companion who died in a war, because it is difficult to keep a complete body in a war. Missing for more than a certain period of time will be regarded as a death in a war. Although there are many people who are missing, it can always narrow down the scope again. Enough, don't say any more. Bordered Soil roared. I'm Shimura Danzo. No, I have nothing to do with Shimura Danzo. Don't think too much about it. I've never asked anyone to collect the contents of the Psychology Society. With that, he closed his eyes and used void form to escape. Garashi had a strange expression on his face. Even Bordered Soil had mastered the skill of shifting the blame. Obito, who only wanted to escape, kept using void form until he escaped back to the underground base of the country of grass. Only then did he stop. Phew, you're finally back. Wait, senior. Only then did he realize what was going on. Oh no, if senior follows behind us, won't the base be exposed? Bordered Soil looked around and released his perception. After confirming that Garashi had not chased after him, Bordered Soil relaxed, but his mood also worsened. His Kamui was mainly void form and teleportation. Although he could use it to travel, he could only teleport a few kilometers at most. This distance should still be within the range of Senpai's perception. But Senpai did not even chase after him, as if he was deliberately letting him go. Could it be that Senpai has already guessed my identity? Thinking of this, Bordered Soil had an inexplicable fear of social death. And then he shook his head fiercely. So what if he recognizes me? I'm already an emotionless. Bordered Soil. Ah. Seeing Bordered Soil scared witless by this voice, Black Zetsu was confused. What's wrong with you? What emotionless? Seeing that it was Black Zetsu, Bordered Soil sighed in relief, and then he explained in frustration. It's over, Senpai seems to have recognized me. What? Black Zetsu was more excited than him. What's going on? How did he recognize you? Bordered Soil's heart was in a mess, and he didn't care about Black Zetsu's strangeness. He just told him everything that happened today. After listening to Bordered Soil's story, Black Zetsu's face was gloomy. Damn it. I just relaxed a little, and it became like this. Because of Garashi's phobia. Unless he had no other choice, he generally did not enter with Leaf. Therefore, he did not act with Bordered Soil this time. Bordered Soil asked with hope in his eyes. Black Zetsu, do you think that the last words I left behind could make Senpai mistakenly think that I am Danzo? If your dojutsu can pull the opponent's intelligence to the same level as yours, maybe it's possible to succeed, Black Zetsu said in his heart. After all, the opponent is Shimizu Garashi. The possibility is not high. I knew it would be like this. Bordered Soil sighed and said fiercely. Isn't it just identity exposure? Why should I be afraid? Wait, don't. Black Zetsu's tone was nervous. If Bordered Soil's identity is exposed, Shimizu Garashi is likely to say that Rin is not dead. Then, what awaits him will be Bordered Soil's betrayal on the spot. What's wrong? Bordered Soil wondered. I blocked the way out. Isn't it more to your liking? Blocked the way out. Black Zetsu laughed in his heart. If you know that Rin is not dead, you will shamelessly go back even if Woodleaf hates you. Sorting out his thoughts, Black Zetsu explained. Before we start the Fourth Shinobi World War, your identity should not be exposed. Why? First, we plan to let White Zetsu riot in order to shift the responsibility to Akatsuki, so that Akatsuki and the 5 great shinobi villages will have to go to war. But if your identity is exposed, others may mistakenly think that you are a spy sent by Woodleaf, and Woodleaf will divert some of the firepower. Chapter 423. Let's start the Shinobi World War. Bordered Soil was also shocked by these words for a moment. Then he asked in confusion. But didn't you say last time that you would wait for the Senpai to resurrect before starting the war? If we start the war now, there's no way to resurrect the Jubi, right? Haha, what a coincidence. Black Zetsu laughed twice. I just found out that the Senpai was resurrected 2 days ago, and I just finished the capture. If I knew this would happen, I wouldn't have delayed it. Black Zetsu sighed secretly, because he was worried that the resurrection of the Senpai would be discovered by Woodleaf's people first. Since the Senpai was killed, he had White Zetsu all over the coastal area to be the first to catch the Senpai. Half a year ago, the Senpai was resurrected in the deep sea and was caught by him before he could reach the shore. This made it so that no one in the entire shinobi world knew about the resurrection of the Senpai, except for him. Fortunately, Bordered Soil was confused because of the fact that Black Zetsu pointed out the fact that Black Zetsu was a scum. So he didn't care about the coincidence, in Black Zetsu's words. He was just surprised. What a coincidence! Seeing that Bordered Soil's surprise didn't seem to be fake, Black Zetsu relaxed. Haha, God is helping us. Bordered Soil nodded and asked again. When are we going to start with Aizen? Black Zetsu suggested. When the war breaks out, when the Akatsuki's attention is diverted to the war, we will start. Bordered Soil pondered for a moment, and said with a sad tone. Is it finally coming to this step? Whether it's right or wrong, I will resurrect you, Rin. A week later with Leaf Naruto building. Sure enough, I have lost my mind. Danzo put down the mahjong tiles in his hand on the table, with a disappointed look on his face. I can't even feel the tiles. For the village, I have given up too much. At this moment, several rapid knocks sounded on the door. Danzo quickly put the mahjong on the table into the drawer, and then tidied up his appearance. Come in. The door was pushed open, and Ryuma walked in, and said in a panic, Hokage-sama, it's not good. A lot of white monsters have come ashore from the southern coastal area of the Land of Fire. Those monsters are burning and looting all the way to Konoha. White monsters. Danzo didn't care. Is it a conspiracy of the Akatsuki or other villages? But it doesn't matter. Just use them to show us the power of Wood Leaf. By the way, how strong are those monsters? Those monsters is Samazars or Chuninsars. Ryuma added in a hurried tone. And it's not only the Land of Fire that has been attacked. If we count the other countries, the number of monsters that are wreaking havoc in the shinobi world may be hundreds of thousands. Chungo go. Attack! Attack! S. In that case, it's better to maintain the quality advantage, assign a few more people to each team, and slow down the rescue speed. We can't sacrifice ourselves for the rescue. Moreover, at least 1/3 of the combat power must be left to protect the village and prevent the Akatsuki from luring us away. Finally, the people in the village have some misunderstandings about me. But now is a time of crisis. I still hope that everyone can unite to overcome the difficulties together. So, I won't assign tasks to them this time. But I'll trouble you to worry about communicating with them. Sandaime looked at him in shock. Danzo can't have such awareness, and it's impossible for him to be so polite. Who are you? Danzo's eyes twitched wildly, and he reluctantly smiled. People grow up. That's right. Everyone will grow. Sandaime patted Danzo's shoulder with emotion. Although your growth is slow, and you only understand this truth in your 60s, but you've finally grown up. I'm very happy. Hearing this, Danzo's veins bulged. What's with the bitter tone of Hiruzen's father? After Sandaime left, Ryoma lowered his voice and asked, Naruto-sama, do you want to contact the leader of the Akatsuki and ask what's going on? Danzo coldly snorted. Of course, I want to ask, what do they want? Chapter 424. Yunnan Village. Listening to Tsutai's report, A's face was gloomy. What the hell do those bastards want to do? Do they want to be enemies with the whole ninja world? Tsutai analyzed. Although the Akatsuki is powerful, it's still not enough to be enemies with the 5 great ninja villages. The reason why they are doing this is probably to disperse our forces and defeat us one by one. Defeat us one by one. A calmed down and tapped the table with one hand. Although the Akatsuki is not the opponent of the 5 great ninja villages, they are stronger than any of us individually. If we send the ninjas of the village to rescue them, it will give them an opportunity to attack us. Tsutai nodded with a dignified expression. If we leave them alone, the whole world except for the 5 great ninja villages will fall into the hands of the Akatsuki. But if we take the initiative to attack, we will fall into their trap. Maybe we can strengthen the barrier, Yuki suggested. Discover the enemy in advance, and leave more time to summon everyone. It's not useful, Tsutai denied. If they are really determined to invade, they will definitely use those monsters to entangle our people. A slammed the table and said, Then let's bring the people of the Lightning Country to Yunnan. We can always live there. Tsutai shook his head slightly. But the fundamental problem is still not solved. If the Akatsuki mobilizes all of their forces, it will be difficult for the village to resist with the current strength. I was dissatisfied. Then what should we do? Sutai was silent for a moment and sighed. In fact, the safest way is for the 5 great ninja villages to gather together and help each other. This time, everyone in the room was silent. Of course, they know the benefits of gathering together. But the problem is, where should they gather? From the map, there is no doubt that the Fire Country, which occupies the center of the map, is the most suitable place. But the demon disaster can't be solved in a day or two. In the long run, they are worried that the village will become a part of the Fire Country. When the war is over, their home will be gone. Rock Cripsis village. What should we do? Should we take the initiative to move closer to Woodleaf and form a united front of the 5 great ninja villages? Yellow Soil hesitated. But we are not San Cripsis after all. Everyone should be more resistant to this kind of thing. Everyone in the room nodded with a complicated look on their faces. Although they no longer have the idea of targeting Konoha, they still have the cheek to please Konoha, which is still beyond their psychological endurance. In fact, you don't have to be too nervous. Anoki laughed. While you are worried, the Akatsuki is also afraid. Scared. Kitsuchi frowned slightly and quickly understood. I know, they have the strength to attack any shinobi village, but at the same time, they also gave Shimizu Garashi the opportunity to catch them all in one fell swoop. Han also came to a realization. No wonder they've only sent out those demonic creatures, but none of the higher-ups have shown up. Anoki laughed. Even if the sky falls, there are tall people to hold it up. Since Shimizu Garashi wants to be a hero, then let him be. In the illusory space, 10 figures were standing around. Everyone looked at Bordered Soil and Kuroto with great interest. Obviously, they knew what today's meeting was about. In this silent atmosphere, Yahiko asked, Hoodlum Zetsu, why did the demonic army suddenly riot? Black Zetsu sighed. I'm sorry, we overestimated the control of the Ghetto Mazo. After the number of demonic creatures exceeded the critical point, they suddenly lost control. Lost control? Yahiko's voice was low. You didn't say that those demonic creatures could lose control. Black Zetsu explained. The ancient records we found didn't mention anything about losing control. Now that I think about it, it may be that the Ghetto Mazo in the ancient records was in a fully charged state, so there was no such worry. Fully charged state? Conan was puzzled. It's the state of all tailed beasts. Black Zetsu shrugged. Didn't I say? The Ghetto Mazo is a cage used by the Sage of the 6 Paths to imprison and tame the tailed beasts as a power source. Yahiko pondered. You mean we have to capture 9-tailed beasts to restore control of those demonic creatures? I don't know. Black Zetsu pretended not to care. But from Madara's research, it should be like this, right? However, they naturally wouldn't choose to believe his words. Yahiko asked, what evidence do you have? It's easy to prove that the Ghetto Mazo is a tailed beast cage. Its 9 closed eyes correspond to the 9 tailed beasts. As long as a tailed beast is put in, the corresponding eyes will open. Black Zetsu scratched his head and said, As for the tailed beasts, I don't know how to prove it or, let's catch a tailed beast and put it in first. Yahiko pondered. Do you want to catch a tailed beast to test it? There's no need to trouble you, leader. Black Zetsu smiled. Hoodlum and I just caught the resurrected Sambai 2 days ago. Yahiko squinted his eyes and looked at him deeply. Then I'll trouble you. Seeing that they finished their discussion, Raiga couldn't help but say, shouldn't we think about a way out? Controlling the demonic creatures requires the power of a tailed beast. Not to mention whether the 5 great ninja villages will believe it. Even if they believe it, it's absolutely impossible for such a powerful force to be in our hands. So whether we can save the situation or not, war is inevitable. Nagato nodded in agreement. Yes, once the barely maintained balance is broken, it's impossible to return to the past. Now is not the best time to start a war. But the longer we wait, the worse the opportunity will be. Yes, we have to do it as soon as possible. Aizen agreed. Now the entire ninja world thinks that the demonic creatures' riot is our conspiracy. We can take advantage of their fear and dread to launch our action. If we let them know that even we can't control those demonic creatures, our deterrence will be greatly reduced. In that case, it seems that we shouldn't hesitate. Kisame asked. But how are we going to start the war? First, concentrate our forces on attacking a ninja village? Raiga hesitated. Wouldn't it give Qingshui Shushi a chance if we turn from the shadows to the light? Nagato said in a deep voice. To achieve the goals of the organization, we have to go on the stage. Seeing that the focus of the war had changed, Black Zetsu hurriedly said. In fact, the key to breaking the situation is the tailed beasts. Only by regaining control of the demonic army can we become a powerful organization that the ninja world fears, not a commander with only 10 people. Moreover, after absorbing the 9-tailed beasts, the Geto Mazo's strength will increase exponentially. Even Shimizu Garashi may not be its opponent. So to achieve the goal of the organization, the key lies on the tailed beasts. Chapter 425. Are you sure we can defeat Shimizu Garashi? Raiga couldn't help but doubt. His 1,000-hand Buddha can catch a tailed beast with one arm. Even if the Kyuubi is more powerful, even if it has 10 arms, it still has more than 900 arms left. That's not how it works. Ten cough cough. Black Zetsu forced himself to change his words. The complete body golem will change qualitatively. It's not an addition, it's a multiplication. Well, even if the complete body golem is as powerful as you say, how do we catch it? Raiga calculated. We can't alert the enemy, which means we have to catch the remaining 8-tailed beasts at once. There are only 10 of us here, including the Woodleaf spy, who doesn't want to expose his identity. There are only 11 of us. Even if we count Sasori and Nagato's powerful puppets, there are no more than 20 Kage-tier combatants. The 5 great ninja villages have 8 Jinchuriki, not to mention the other strong ones, and the Chunin and Jonin of the villages. Such a gap in combat power isn't something that can be offset by 1 or 2 puppets. Actually, this isn't difficult. Before Black Zetsu could speak, Aizen began to analyze. We can reduce the gap in strength between the enemy and us as much as possible before exposing the tailed beasts. For example, we can concentrate on attacking the rock Crypsis. Kakuza hesitated. Concentrate? Isn't that giving Shimizu Garashi an opportunity to catch us all in one fell swoop? Nagato calmly said. I will leave Chikishoto in the hidden rain. If you encounter any danger, Chikishoto will summon you back. Scorpion asked in surprise. That clone of yours can even communicate with us. Nagato concisely said. Yes. Hearing this, everyone's expression relaxed. Without any worries, it means that they can do whatever they want. If he can summon us back at any time, what is there to be afraid of? Not to mention the rock Crypsis, I dare to provoke even Woodleaf. Not to mention Woodleaf, even if Shimizu Garashi were to stand in front of me, I would still dare. Seeing that they were getting more and more ridiculous, Nagato quickly added, I need time to summon you back. If you're killed before I can react, there's nothing I can do. Can I hold on for more than a second? Thinking of this, Raiga, who had been shouting the loudest, immediately stopped talking. Seeing that the space was quiet, Aizen smiled and said, with Nagato's summoning, we don't need to think about retreating in advance. Before Shimizu Shushi arrives, we should be able to seriously injure the rock's high-level combat power, right? Ghost Mermaid licked his lips and asked, aren't we going to kill them? It's better to leave them some hope. Aizen explained, seriously injuring them can make the 5 great shinobi villages feel threatened. But if we kill them, it will make them united against a common enemy. That seems to be the case. Ghost Mermaid nodded and asked, but why rock Crypsis? Sand Crypsis and Kirin are currently controlled by people close to Shimizu Garashi. Who knows if Shimizu Garashi gave them the Flying Thunder God Jutsu? Aizen shook his head slightly. As for Yunin and rock Crypsis, considering that we don't have much time, and Yunin is relatively strong, it's easier to bully rock Crypsis. I understand. Ghost Mermaid nodded. However, this method can only be used once. With rock Crypsis as an example, the other villages will not hesitate to put down their faces and ask Shimizu Garashi to give them the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. It's enough to eliminate rock crypsis. Black Zetsu looked at Yahiko with a smile. Leader, you should be in contact with Woodleaf's Naruto, right? Yahiko nodded slightly, yes. No one was surprised by this. When Danzo was released, they had already discussed the matter of cooperation with him. That's easy, Black Zetsu said. Let the Hokage convene the 5 Kages conference again. Let's say that the Rock Village has suffered heavy losses, and discuss a plan to deal with it. During the conference, we will take the opportunity to capture Jinchuriki. Wait, that's impossible, right? Conan hesitated. Rock Crypsis has just been attacked, and the villages are anxious and sensitive. How can they let their strength be weakened because of a 5 Kage conference? No, it's possible. Black Zetsu smiled. As long as we sell Woodleaf's Naruto. Conan's eyes lit up. What are you going to do? Black Zetsu said. Isn't Naruto planning to use us to fight against Shimizu Garashi, and then he will benefit from it? At that time, we will lie to him and say that we are going to set a trap at the 5 Kage conference to capture Shimizu Garashi and the other 4 Kages. After he sends the invitation, we will accidentally reveal the trap to the Raikage and let them counterattack against our sneak attack. At that time, we can take the opportunity to attack the 5 great ninja villages and capture their Jinchuriki. Hearing this, everyone's spirits were lifted. Although the process was still a little rough, overall, it should be feasible. As long as they carefully sculpted and designed the details more reasonably, it should be fine, Raiga said excitedly. In this way there may be hope of success, Kakuzu said calmly. Anyway, with the Chikishoto, the worst case is failure. Kisame laughed. Am I the only one who thinks that Naruto-sama is a bit pitiful? When he smashes the cup as a signal, no one will ambush him. No, it should be said that they will all ambush him. Hearing what Kisame said, everyone couldn't help but sigh. It's not that they feel sorry for Danzo, but that they can't see such an interesting scene. Yahiko nodded and said, Then it's decided. Everyone will gather in the land of grass and prepare to attack the rock Crypsis. Those monsters only know how to kill and destroy. After capturing a territory, they will not occupy it, but wander around, coupled with their ability to hide their aura. The operation of the 5 great ninja villages to eliminate the demon disaster was not ideal. So in just a few days, nearly 70% of the entire ninja world has fallen, and the 5 great ninja villages as base city has opened, and outside the base city is the danger zone. Of course, it's not only the 5 great ninja villages that have humans gathering. Small countries such as the Land of Iron and the Land of Rain can still protect themselves. After all, it's impossible for the 5 great ninja villages to cram so many people. Relatively speaking, they still give priority to refugees from their own countries. At this time, the national ninja movement of the past 4 years has played a role. The greatly increased number of ninjas has made the survival rate of ordinary people much higher in this round of demon disaster. Because of this sudden disaster, everyone's view of those unorthodox ninjas has changed, and the people and ninjas have also accelerated the run-in between them. In short, the originally stable development of the ninja village has taken a sharp turn, and no one knows what kind of future it will turn into. Chapter 426. Konoha. In a gloomy underground chamber, Danzo looked at the masked man in front of him with a dark face, suppressing his anger. 5 Kages tournament? Are you provoking me? The 5 Kages tournament 4 years ago is a shame that can never be washed away in his life. For him, these 4 words are taboo. Bordered Soil obviously understood why Danzo was so angry and smiled calmly. Don't get me wrong, we don't have such bad taste. Danzo coldly snorted. Then what do you mean? Bordered Soil laughed. Simply put, we plan to set a trap during the 5 Kages tournament and catch the other 4 Kages in one fell swoop. If Shimizu Garashi can also catch them, that would be great. Danzo frowned and asked, I remember your leader being quite normal. Why did he suddenly go crazy? Bordered Soil was dissatisfied. Naruto-sama, I can't pretend that I didn't hear that. Danzo sneered. The war has just begun, and he's already thinking about how to end it. He doesn't know how to make use of his superior forces. And he even fantasizes about defeating Shimizu Garashi. Tell me, isn't he crazy? Although we also want more time to prepare, the conditions don't allow it. Bordered Soil sighed. What did you say? Danzo was confused. You are our partner, so I won't hide some secret information from you, Bordered Soil said with a sigh. In fact, this war wasn't part of our plan. But those monsters suddenly went out of control. And even we couldn't control them, forcing us to start the war ahead of time. Danzo's mouth twitched. Are you an idiot? Using a few years to create an army that even you can't control. Isn't that a mistake? Obito smirked twice. In short, we have to weaken their strength as much as possible before the other shinobi villages realize this. While their strength is restrained by the demon disaster, it's best to directly determine the victory. Danzo pondered for a moment. Are you sure you can achieve your goal during the 5 Kages tournament? Don't worry. Of course, we made this decision with great confidence. Bordered Soil comforted him. Otherwise, wouldn't we have lost an important partner like you for nothing? Danzo nodded, agreeing with the other party's statement. He certainly knew that it was impossible for Akatsuki organization to truly regard him as one of their own. But his importance was absolutely beyond doubt. So Akatsuki organization had no reason to casually sacrifice such an important chess piece. Of course, in order to show our sincerity and our determination to go to war, Bordered Soil added, we will attack the Rock Crypsis directly. You should be receiving this information soon. What? Rock Crypsis? Danzo was shocked. You should know that with the organization's strength, we can do that. Bordered Soil smiled reservedly. Danzo looked at him deeply. It seems that you really don't intend to leave a way out for yourselves. Bordered Soil laughed. That's right, no one will have a second chance. Danzo took a deep breath. Tell me, your specific countermeasures. You used this attack on the Rock Crypsis as an opportunity to invite the other 4 villages to convene the 5 Kages tournament to discuss how to deal with the organization. Wait! Before Bordered Soil finished, Danzo interrupted. The shinobi world is in chaos, and the Rock Crypsis is under attack. In such a tense and sensitive period, it's difficult for them to respond to a slogan, right? Of course. I will tell you something substantial to win their trust. Bordered Soil threw a few photos to Danzo. For example, the organization's base is in the Hidden Rain, and Hanzo the Salamander is being controlled by Jinjutsu. What? Hanzo is being controlled by Jinjutsu? Danzo was shocked and quickly picked up the photos to check. It was a picture of Hanzo's eyes, listening to someone's orders, and in the center of the Hidden Rain, a dense monster was sleeping. Well, this is big enough for them to come to the 5 Kages tournament, right? Bordered Soil asked with a smile. You even used the base to attract attention. You're really generous. Danzo calmly put away the photos. I said we have no way out. Bordered Soil said solemnly. Either we become the new master of this world, or we die like the embers. Well, what are you going to do after attracting them to the 5 Kages tournament? Bordered Soil casually said. The organization has cultivated a kind of puppet insect that can control the enemy's body. Although it's difficult to be effective against strong people, it can be used with Aizen's Jinjutsu to control even the Kages. When we control the other 4 Kages, we will pretend to fight. And when Shimizu Garashi arrives, the 4 Kages will use the 4 red flame formation to trap him. As long as Shimizu Garashi and the 4 Kages are gone, this world will belong to us. You can even control the Kages. Danzo's expression changed. Is it really your doing that the 4th Mizukage was controlled? Bordered Soil nodded. I am the one who controlled the 4th Mizukage. Danzo's eyes twitched. He always thought that the 4th Mizukage being controlled was a lie made up by Shimizu Garashi. He was worried for so long. However, since the Akatsuki can control the other 4 Kages, it means that they can also control me. Danzo was secretly vigilant, but his mouth said, I know what to do. Bordered Soil laughed. I believe that Naruto-sama will not let us down. After saying that, he voided and disappeared. Space ability? The Akatsuki is really a group of monsters. Danzo coldly snorted and walked out of the underground chamber, narrowing his eyes. Although I want to deal with Shimizu Garashi, the Akatsuki is also not a good thing. It's best to make them die together in this 5 Kages tournament. But soon he shook his head. Impossible. Even if they have many plans, it's impossible to trap Shimizu Garashi. That man can't be defeated. As the old enemy of Shimizu Garashi, Danzo believes that he knows the horror of that man better than anyone else. That man has never failed since the day he became a ninja. And most of his enemies have a tragic end, such as Inoki and the third Mizukichi. Throughout the ninja world, only I can have the upper hand in front of him. Danzo thought quite proudly. He took the position of Naruto from Shimizu Garashi. Is he proud? Although the Akatsuki will most likely lose, it's not impossible to take advantage of it. Danzo thought secretly. Not to mention that he's not optimistic about the Akatsuki. Even if they can win, just by manipulating the Kages behind the scenes, he absolutely can't let them live. When Shimizu Garashi arrives at the 5 Kages tournament, I will tell him about the other 4 Kages being controlled, so that they won't have time to use the 4 red yang formation. Chapter 427. The more Danzo thought about it, the more excited he got. If I sell out the Akatsuki, there will be no evidence of my cooperation with them. Even if they tell the truth before they die, I can say that they deliberately slandered me. As for Shimizu Garashi, although the Akatsuki was eventually destroyed by him, as long as he killed the other 4 Kages, he will definitely not be suitable to be Naruto. Thinking of this, Danzo couldn't help but reveal a smug smile. With his experience of taking advantage of Shimizu Garashi, defeating Shimizu Garashi on a physical level is impossible. If he wants to defeat Shimizu Garashi, he can only use the so-called rules reasonably. Moreover, those photos can also be used. Danzo thought. I can take all the credit for discovering the Akatsuki's base and exposing the 4 Kages' control. Then, I can also use the fact that the 4 Kages are under control to say that their subordinates are the remnants of the Akatsuki. Then I can take the opportunity to replace the leaders of the other 4 villages with my people. At that time, not to mention Naruto, I can even be the Kage of the entire shinobi world. Hearing the strange laughter in the room, Ryoma, who was standing outside the door and was about to knock, felt embarrassed for a moment. Is there something wrong with Naruto-sama's brain? However, thinking of the urgent information he just received, Ryoma didn't dare to hesitate too much and gently knocked on the door a few times. Hearing the knock, the laughter in the room stopped, and soon a low voice came. Come in. Ryoma opened the door and saw Naruto-sama sitting on a chair looking at a document with a dignified expression. What's the matter? Our spies in Rock Crypsis sent information that just now, the Akatsuki suddenly gathered their combat power to attack Rock Crypsis. At the cost of the Tsuchikichi, and the Yambi's Jinchuriki being seriously injured and unconscious, and a large number of elite jonins were injured. They barely managed to hold on until Shimizu Garashi arrived. Danzo was stunned for a moment, then slowly nodded. How did the Akatsuki escape? As expected of Lord Naruto, even after hearing such shocking news, you can still maintain your composure. Ryoma carefully flattered in his heart, and then hurriedly said, It's the spirit summoning technique. After Shimizu Garashi arrived, they were instantly summoned away. He can even communicate with ordinary members. Danzo's eyes narrowed. In the last 5 Kages tournament, although he was knocked out and taken away by the enemy at the beginning of the battle, after being released, he still learned about the follow-up process of the battle through the intelligence. He knew that the summoning at that time seemed to only summon the few people with Rinnegan. That's a little tricky. If we can't kill the Akatsuki, it will be troublesome to betray them. Danzo pondered and soon his eyes lit up. Yes, Flying Thunder God Jutsu. Shimizu Garashi can use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. As long as we remind him of this, let him secretly leave the Flying Thunder God Jutsu on the Akatsuki's people. He will be able to find the one who used the spirit summoning technique and kill them all. Although Shimizu Garashi and Danzo don't get along well, Danzo never underestimates the other party. With Shimizu Garashi's ability, it won't be difficult for him to do what he wants. Thinking of this, Danzo calmed down. I already know about the attack on the rock Crypsis. Those bastards of the Akatsuki are too arrogant. Ryoma, you go and send an invitation to the other 4 villages. Tell them that I want to hold a 5 Kages tournament to discuss how to deal with the war between the Akatsuki and the Akatsuki. Hold a 5 Kages tournament. Ryoma was surprised. At this juncture, will someone really respond? Moreover, Lord Naruto doesn't have such prestige, does he? As if seeing what Ryoma was worried about, Danzo took out a few photos. Make copies of these photos and send them to the other 4 villages. When they see these photos, they will naturally come to participate. Ryoma took the photos skeptically, and with just a glance he was shocked. Naruto-sama, this is… Don't say don't ask. Danzo calmly waved his hand. Just do as I say. Ryoma exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Yes, I understand. Rock Crypsis, the ninja village that used to be peaceful, was now in a mess. The smell of blood and burning was everywhere, and the sound of pain and wailing could be heard. Houses collapsed, and the ground cracked, as if it had just experienced the destruction of a large earthquake. The people who came from the land of Earth and took refuge around the land of Earth were at a loss. Even Rock Crypsis, one of the 5 great ninja villages, suffered such a disaster. Is there any place in the world that can be regarded as a pure land? What am I doing? Kitsuchi opened his eyes in a daze, and then instantly woke up. Wait, I'm fighting the enemies of the Akatsuki. But before he could force himself to sit up, he heard the people around him cheering. Great, Kitsuchi-sama finally woke up. It's all thanks to Garashi-sama. If it weren't for Garashi-sama, let alone Kitsuchi-sama, our Rock Crypsis village would be in danger of being destroyed. It's been 8 years since the end of the Third Shinobi World War. For ninjas, 8 years is almost enough time to complete a generation. The younger generation who hasn't experienced the war don't have much hatred for Garashi. In fact, they grew up listening to the legends of Garashi, and most of them worship him. In addition, Garashi saved Rock Crypsis this time, so the worship in their hearts is even higher. In the midst of these cheers, Garashi asked while maintaining the super-large medical ninjutsu, Serene Rain, covering the entire Rock Crypsis. How is it? Are you feeling better? Noticing the strong vitality contained in the drizzle, Kitsuchi coughed twice. It's you saved us? Garashi nodded. Well, fortunately, I made it in time. By the way, where is my father? Kitsuchi looked around. Seeing him struggling to get up, the people around him quickly pressed him down. Sachikage-sama is seriously injured and unconscious. However, Sachikage-sama has been treated by Garashi-sama, and his life is no longer in danger. Hearing everyone's words, Kitsuchi's eyes were very complicated. His right arm and his father's left leg were lost because of Garashi, and even the heyday of Rock Crypsis declined because of him. But the reason can be said to be their own fault. But now, not only did he come to support them, but he even took the initiative to save them. Compared with him, whether it's me or my father, we are a little narrow-minded. Kitsuchi sighed in his heart, and then said with difficulty, Thank you. Every word seemed to be heavy, but after saying it, Kitsuchi's heart was relaxed as if he got rid of the shackles. Looking at the young people around him, Kitsuchi sighed in his heart. Perhaps these young people are more suitable for this era than us. Wait, when did that little bastard Deidara come over? Chapter 428. Looking at Deidara, who was trying to get closer to Shimizu Garashi, Kitsuchi was speechless. Fortunately, his father fainted now. Otherwise, if he saw his disciple who was trained as the next Sachikage trying to get closer to Shimizu Garashi, wouldn't he be so angry that he would kill him? But doesn't this little bastard only like explosions? Kitsuchi was puzzled. Although Shimizu Garashi is powerful, he won't play with explosions, right? After Garashi responded to Kitsuchi's gratitude, he asked, What's the situation now? Why did the Akatsuki attack Rock Crypsis desperately? I don't know, maybe they want to defeat us one by one? Kitsuchi was a little embarrassed as he said this. His father came to the conclusion a few days ago that the Akatsuki couldn't gather together to attack a ninja village. But as soon as he finished, he was slapped in the face, and almost half of the village was destroyed. But this can't be blamed on him. Who knew that the Akatsuki could summon a group of ninjas? Even in the last 5 Kage tournament, they only summoned a few Rinnegan. Garashi nodded with a dignified expression. Next, several other villages may also be in danger. We must inform them to be prepared in advance. Kitsuchi felt sad when he thought that the other major ninja villages were saved from disaster because of his family's sacrifice. Why did those bastards of the Akatsuki choose to attack Rock Crypsis? However, he quickly turned this sadness into hatred for the Akatsuki and said fiercely, "We can't just passively take a beating. We have to join forces to defeat those bastards." Joining forces is the best way, but it's not easy to do this. Shueisha sighed. After all, there are only a few people who have foresight, and most people who don't have the pain of losing their lives will inevitably have a fluke mentality. Especially with the precedent of your rock village, the other shinobi village's conservatives will probably not agree to transfer their combat power and cooperate with us to launch a counterattack. Kitsuchi's eyelids drooped. Isn't Rock Crypsis like this? Before experiencing this disaster, he had always thought of protecting himself and letting others take his place if there was a problem. In the end, when disaster struck, they were powerless to resist. I will communicate with the conservatives and tell them with my own experience. After a moment of silence, Yellow Soil said solemnly, "Joining forces may bring about temporary losses, but if they don't join forces, they will end up like Rock Crypsis." Seeing that the Rock Crypsis had changed from an indecisive opportunist to a firm ally, Garashi nodded with relief. "That's great. With your experience, the chances of success will be greatly increased." Seeing that they were done discussing, Deidara couldn't help but raise his hands and ask, "Sir Garashi, can you perform surgery on me and sew a mouth on the back of my hand?" Huang Tu's face darkened. Did they think that the Rock Crypsis hadn't exploded enough? A few days later in Yunnan Village, in the Reikage building, that Naruto wants to convene the Five Shadows conference? Tutai frowned. He's not afraid of exposing his scars. AI did not comment and distributed the photos in his hand. "Look at this." Tutai took the photo, and his pupils suddenly shrank. "Is this true?" Killer Bee on the side couldn't help but sing. "It's shocking, it's really challenging my nerves. It's not very satisfying." AI said in a deep voice, "I've already asked someone to confirm it. Although it's still not certain. There's definitely something wrong with the Hidden Rain village." Tutai rubbed his chin and muttered, "I didn't expect that Naruto would be reliable for once." Yuki's spirit was lifted. "Then should we quickly gather the other 4 villages and destroy their nest in one fell swoop?" AI sneered. "If we really go, we might not be able to come back." Meow. What do you mean?" Yuki tilted his head and asked. Tutai's eyes narrowed slightly. "Reikage-sama, you mean the base in this photo is a trap?" AI said coldly. "I don't know whether it's a trap or not. But, he probably took this photo from the Akatsuki." "What? Is Woodleaf Naruto actually a member of the Akatsuki?" Yuki was shocked. Tutai couldn't help but ask, "Reikage-sama, is the source of this information reliable?" AI said in a deep voice. "We have people in Woodleaf's information department." When he got these photos, he was also very shocked. He deliberately extracted the residual material in the original photos and compared it with the captured monsters. He found that the genetic information of the two is very similar. There's another point, that is, these photos are too clear. It doesn't look like they were taken secretly. It's more like they were taken in front of the Akatsuki. Listening to what he said, Yuki picked up the photos and looked at them from all angles, then slowly nodded. "Yes, these photos are too normal to be reasonable." So, for years ago, it was indeed the Akatsuki who took the initiative to release him. Tutai said, "At that time, I thought that the Akatsuki wanted to make things difficult for Shimizu Garashi, so that he couldn't become Naruto. I didn't expect the reason behind it to be like this." Killer Bee couldn't help but curse. That shriveled old man definitely wants to harm us. Big brother. Let's call Shimizu Garashi and kill him together. Don't mess around. AI stared at him. This is a rare opportunity for us. Opportunity? An opportunity to pull the Akatsuki out from the shadows. I understand. Yuki clapped his hands. The Akatsuki invited Reikage-sama to participate in the Five Kages convention through Danzo. They must want to set a trap during the convention. Then we can take advantage of this opportunity to set a trap for them. Yes. Tutai nodded approvingly. If the Akatsuki has been hiding in the dark, we can't do anything. But if they take the initiative to expose themselves, it's completely different. A group of fools, watch me finish them. Killer Bee gestured. Big brother, let me go with you. Yuki raised his right hand. Me too, I want to go. However, AI shook his head and refused. Why do you want to go? If too many people go, it will easily arouse the enemy's suspicion. You should stay at home and protect the village. But the enemy has set up an ambush for you. Killer Bee frowned. If we send too few people, they might succeed in the ambush. Yuki nodded again and again. It's too dangerous. Tutai said. Don't worry. I will inform the other Kages and Garashi-sama in advance. As long as Shimizu Garashi is prepared, those bastards of the Akatsuki will suffer. Oh, then I'm relieved. Big brother, when you fight, remember to get close to Shimizu Garashi. Seeing the change in their attitude, AI was speechless. What do these bastards think of him? He is Reikage. Chapter 429. Under the stimulation of Kitsuchi's words and Reikage's secret information, the Sand and Mist, who originally planned to follow Shueishi's footsteps, quickly agreed to the proposal of the Five Kages meeting. As the organizer, the Land of Iron was also happy to see this. The pressure of the demon disaster is great, and the people of the 5 great shinobi villages will help them clean up the monsters on the road. Right? On the road of the Land of Iron, which has become strange. After cleaning up the monsters around, Danzo sighed with emotion. I'm back here again, and this time, I will take back everything I lost last time. Hearing Danzo's bold words, Kama couldn't help but look at his lower body, and was secretly shocked. Didn't Naruto-sama lose a lot of blood last time? Is he going to take it from other people this time? Ryuma's mood was surging. He had a rough idea of Danzo's plan. As expected of Hokage-sama, this plan of eating both sides is perfect. When they arrived at the meeting place, the flags of the other 4 great shinobi villages were already hung high. The puppet insect should have taken effect by now, right? Looking at the flags hanging up, Danzo muttered to himself. In order to avoid being accidentally injured by the puppet worms, he deliberately slowed down his pace. Naruto-sama, welcome. The samurai who came to greet them showed good quality, and he didn't laugh because of the absurd memories in his mind. Please come with me. I will take you to your room to rest. No need. Danzo looked up at the sky. It's still early and time is tight, so we won't rest. You go and inform the other 4 Kages to see if they have time. If they have time, let's start the meeting in advance. The samurai was a little surprised, but he didn't refute and nodded obediently. I understand. Danzo pressed the Naruto hat on his head and went straight to the meeting place. After opening the door and sitting on Woodleaf's side, he began to close his eyes and rest. It didn't take long for the sound of the crowd to come from outside. The first to come in was Reikage, and he sat down and then said sarcastically, Old man, you came late, but you are so active in the meeting. Danzo just smiled, and his eyes were full of sympathy. He didn't want to get angry with a person who was about to die soon. Then the 3 who came in found their seats and sat down. Among the 3 Kages, Danzo only looked at Kitsuchi. Inoki didn't come? Kitsuchi said in a deep voice. Father was seriously injured and in a coma, so I temporarily replaced him. Danzo shook his head and sighed. It's a pity that even the last familiar face is gone. What a waste of time. Kitsuchi didn't pay attention to him. He looked around and said, Since you are talking about me, I will mention it again. Akatsuki is the cancer of the entire ninja world. If you turn a blind eye to the disaster because it didn't happen to you, sooner or later, you will be devoured by it. Everyone's face, since they came here, obviously they knew and Danzo's. However, before they could speak, Danzo righteously said, "That's right, the harm caused by the Akatsuki can't be ignored. On behalf of Woodleaf, I am the first to agree to the alliance." Everyone looked at him in surprise, and they said, "I also agree to the alliance, but the problem is how to do it. The Akatsuki won't take the initiative to expose themselves and let us attack them." Danzo knocked on the table and said, "Didn't I send you the photos? The hidden rain is the enemy's hiding place." "Oh yes," A responded with a smile, and he was ashamed in his heart. He almost forgot that Danzo was a traitor. Raza suggested, "Maybe we can sneak into the hidden rain and secretly remove the genjutsu on Hanzo's body. On the one hand, it will increase our combat power, and on the other hand, we can use Hanzo's huge reputation in the hidden rain to destroy the Akatsuki's influence in the hidden rain." "I don't think it's appropriate. We can't expose the fact that we found the Akatsuki's base for Hanzo." "Empress Shomi," I said. "The most important thing for us now is to find the person who can use summoning jutsu without the blood contract." Kitsuchi said, "Aizen is also very important. If we don't take this opportunity to kill him, his powerful genjutsu will cause us a lot of trouble." I shook his head. "I think we should focus on dealing with the parasitic member. Those monsters look very similar to him. If we catch him, we may be able to study how to control those monsters." "I don't think so." Time passed little by little, and everyone's heart gradually became irritated. Reikage and the others were waiting for the Akatsuki and Danzo to make a move, because they didn't seem to be aware of the ambush around them. They could only wait for the other side to take the initiative. Danzo was also confused. Didn't they say that they would pretend to fight to lure Shimizu Garashi here? Could it be that the puppet worms haven't played their role yet? Both sides were restraining themselves, pretending to be polite and communicating with the enemy about countermeasures. As a result, the meeting proceeded normally, in a situation that no one had expected. "Damn it! I didn't come here to accompany them in this meeting. Hurry up and do it. What are those bastards of Akatsuki thinking?" It had a strange expression. Did I guess wrong? The Akatsuki didn't intend to do anything during the meeting, but they really wanted to use the meeting to lure us to the hidden rain? He always thought that the Akatsuki was on the 3rd floor, but he didn't expect them to be on the 1st floor. Finally, it couldn't help but ask, "Excuse me, Naruto-sama, can you tell me how you got this picture?" The three were a little surprised. They didn't expect Reikage to have a showdown. However, thinking of this endless meeting, they didn't stop him. Danzo frowned. "Naturally, it was my subordinate who sneaked into the hidden rain and took this picture." "Is that so?" I sneered, secretly taking a picture in front of the enemy, and under the eyes of Aizen, who has a strong spiritual sense. "Your subordinate is really powerful. Can you introduce him to us?" Danzo was stunned, then immediately smiled. "Oh? Is it starting now?" I was at a loss. "What?" After saying something that no one else understood, Danzo spat at AI. "I won't say it. Hit me if you have the ability, you bastard. Only the 4 Kages are being controlled. Their personal guards probably don't know about this. According to the original plan, the Reikage will chase after me. While I'm being chased, I'll drag the 3 of them into a 5-man melee. When Qingshui appears to stop the fight, the 4 of them will immediately form a formation to seal him off." Danzo secretly thought, "It's best to tell the truth one step ahead of them, so I can't reveal that the 4 of them are being controlled. I must." A, who was inexplicably spat at by Danzo, got up, grabbed the table in front of him, and directly hit Danzo. Danzo's eyes widened in midair. "Bastard, you really hit me." Chapter 430. Seeing Naruto-sama being sent flying, Ryuma and Kama naturally didn't hesitate to attack. Secret technique Parasite would release Tree Bind. It covered his whole body with a layer of lightning armor and rushed forward like a bull. "Get out of my way!" The insects that were as dense as dark clouds fell like raindrops when they touched the lightning armor on Rakich's body. But the dead insects didn't settle down. They automatically disintegrated into a poisonous fog and covered the Rakich. The vines binding the Rakich were almost broken, but it also bought some time for Danzo. Wind release, vacuum jade. The high-pressure wind blew away the poisonous fog and directly blew away. Seeing the Rakich being beaten, Yunan's side also joined the battle. Too despicable. They actually bullied him with numbers. Rakich-sama, I'll help you. On the other side, Rock Cripsus's side was still a little confused. But at this moment, seeing the wind blowing away the poisonous fog, they couldn't help but join the battle. Bastard, do you want to kill us? I've been looking at him for a long time. Hit him. Mifune, who was standing in the center of the area, loudly dissuaded. Everyone calm down. Don't let the enemy see you as a joke. However, no one listened to him. The 4 villages have been waiting impatiently for a long time, and they plan to forcibly capture Danzo and force the Akatsuki members to come out. Danzo was a little happy at first. Finally, he didn't have to wait any longer. But as he fought, he felt that something was wrong. What happened to the 5-party melee? Why are the other 4 attacking him? If this goes on, he will really be killed. Could it be that they want to use me to get Shimizu Shushi's letter? And then when Shimizu Shushi is unprepared to activate the array. Danzo was shocked and angry at the same time. Those bastards of the Akatsuki were actually planning to take advantage of him. Damn it, I can't wait for Shimizu Gurashi to come out. Danzo shouted towards Mifune. Come and help. All 4 of them are under the control of Akatsuki's people. Mifune's eyes were blank, but after hearing Danzo's words his heart tightened, and he nervously looked at the 4 Kages. For a child's quarrel to develop to this point, he vaguely sensed that something was wrong. Hearing Danzo's accusation, Kitsuchi couldn't help but feel depressed. Don't believe him. This bastard is the one who cooperated with Akatsuki. They even know about my cooperation with Akatsuki. As expected, they have been controlled. Danzo became more and more convinced of his guess and shouted, I deliberately cooperated with the Akatsuki in order to draw them out. After saying that, he shouted towards Tsutai and the others. Akatsuki organization deliberately let me hold the 5 Kages meeting. They planned to use the puppet insect to control the 4 Kages, and then let them use the 4 red yang array to trap Shimizu Gurashi. I pretended to cooperate with them in order to destroy their plan. Also, I purposely fell behind you because I was worried that the puppet worms would plot against me. Stop looking and come help me. This time, even Tsutai and the others hesitated. Danzo didn't hide the fact that he cooperated with Akatsuki, and he said it as if it was true. Could it be that the 4 Kages were really plotted against by Akatsuki? Seeing Tsutai and the others looking at them with strange eyes, Kitsuchi and the others almost suffered internal injuries. Idiot! How can there be puppet worms in the shinobi world? We are very good, we are not controlled at all. Danzo sneered. Sick people never think that they are sick. Mifune's brain was in chaos. Which side is right? Although Naruto's reputation is the worst, looking at his confident tone, he doesn't seem to be lying. At this moment, an incomparably tyrannical pressure descended, and like a shackle, everyone in the hall stopped fighting. Everyone stop. Hearing Gurashi's voice, everyone quickly calmed down as if they found their backbone. No matter how chaotic the scene is, as long as Gurashi is there is no need to worry. However, without waiting for them to explain, Danzo shouted, Be careful of their sneak attack. Let's catch them first. Kitsuchi and the others glared at him. This bastard still didn't forget to lie. But seeing Danzo's firm eyes, they were somewhat puzzled. Is there something wrong with this bastard's brain? Or he can even lie to himself? Gurashi slightly shook his head and said in a heavy tone, We have been deceived by Akatsuki. Their goal is not us, but the village's Jinchuriki. As for Danzo, he is just a pawn that they threw out to divert the firepower. What? Those bastards actually? Danzo's eyes widened. He thought that he was plotting against Akatsuki, but the Akatsuki betrayed him from the beginning? But soon, he put this matter to the back of his mind, and noticed something that made his hair stand on end. What did Shimizu Gurashi call him? Raza and the others didn't care about Danzo's strange look, and when they heard Garashi's words, they were very nervous. What, the village was attacked? Garashi, what's the situation now? Garashi said in a deep voice. I have sent my clone to reinforce the village, he should be here soon. Time moved forward a little bit. With Leaf Ninja Academy. Yagami-sensei, I want to graduate early. Me too, I want to graduate too. If Sasuke-kun graduates, then I want to graduate too. Saint looked at the little ones in front of him helplessly. Don't mess around, how old are you? You want to graduate? Sasuke said with a serious face. But my brother also graduated at the age of 7. Yagami-Saint wanted to tell him that people can't be generalized. But he thought about it seriously, and resisted the urge to attack Sasuke. What about you, Naruto? Why do you want to graduate early? Naruto waved his little fist. I want to help everyone. I also want to go to the battlefield to kill those monsters. The 8th Saint patted his head with a smile. Going to the battlefield is not the only way to help everyone. Now that the village is in chaos, there are refugees coming to seek shelter every day. You are doing the village a favor by sending them food and water, and helping them carry their luggage. Naruto nodded. I understand. And you, Sasuke? The Uchiha clan is responsible for the police work of Konoha. And as the number of people seeking refuge increases, it's inevitable that there will be more people trying to pass off as genuine. Without waiting for him to finish, Sasuke asked excitedly. Yagami-sensei, you mean you want me to catch the thieves and robbers among those people? What are you thinking? Saint said angrily. I want to say that your biggest role is to massage your father and brother's shoulders and back, so that they can relax after a day of hard work. Sasuke turned his head away. Don't treat me like a child. Chapter 431. After being kicked out, Sasuke curled his lips. Yagami-sensei is too conservative. He won't let us graduate. That's right. I wanted to go on a mission with my father after graduation, and protect him. Naruto complained. What do you think, an intelligence agent, who only knows how to run away, does he go out every day? With the current situation of the shinobi world, what useful information can he get? Thinking of his brother who ran out every day, Sasuke nodded in agreement. That's right. These adults really don't make people worry at all. By the way, Naruto, since you have such a good reason, why don't you explain it to Yagami-sensei? Hey! Mainly because I think Yagami-sensei's persuasion is quite reasonable. I'm going to let my dad listen to it when I go back today. Naruto said. Actually, I can understand my dad's feelings. He's been an intelligence agent all his life. Now that the shinobi world is in chaos, there's no place for him to realize his self-worth. Moreover, he probably can't get any mission now. If he can't get any mission, he can't make money to support his family. That's why he's been running out of the village, thinking about whether he can get some information from those monsters. Alas, this is the sense of crisis of a middle-aged man. It's not easy for your dad. Sasuke sighed and asked. Why don't you let your dad work in the police department? It just so happens that the police department is short of people now, so he doesn't have to go out and take risks. Is that really okay? Naruto was a little moved. I listened to Yagami-sensei's suggestion. I originally planned to let my dad carry things with me. His body flicker jutsu doesn't have to be used for escaping. It's also useful for transporting goods. Don't worry, my dad is very easy to talk to. Sasuke raised his chin reservedly. He'll never embarrass your dad. Thank you, Sasuke. Naruto said gratefully. After that, Naruto sighed in the space of consciousness. I finally helped my dad find a job. Alas, I really envy my dad for having such a filial son like me, right? Kurama? A middle-aged man's sense of crisis flying Thunder God Express. Kurama, who was rolling around in laughter in the consciousness space, heard Naruto's voice, and quickly suppressed the corner of his mouth. Yes, you're the most filial. Wait, this is... Kurama suddenly stood up, and looked in a certain direction through his perception. The killing intent in his eyes soared. It can't be wrong. This battle fluctuation. That bastard actually dares to come back. Kurama, what's wrong with you? Naruto felt strange, because of Kurama's change in the space of consciousness. Suddenly his body shook. Only when he withdrew his consciousness from the space did he realize that the ground was shaking slightly. In the distance, a pillar of light soared into the sky, and flames shot out in all directions. Is it the enemy of Akatsuki? Sasuke looked at the direction of the battle excitedly. As the son of the Uchiha patriarch, Kuroto has naturally heard about the invasion of the rock Crypsis. But looking at it, Sasuke suddenly realized that something was wrong, and shouted with a pale face. That's my home! Seeing Sasuke running in the direction of the fire, Naruto hurriedly followed. Sasuke, wait for me! Uchiha clan. It's this bastard again. Shinakushina stared at the masked man in front of her. Although they didn't officially meet 7 years ago, Kurama's rage in the space of consciousness was enough to explain everything. I'm sorry, Mikoto. It's my fault for dragging you into this. Looking at the ruins of her house, Shinakushina's heart was full of regret. She just came to visit her bestie's house. How could she destroy her bestie's house? It's okay. Although she was still in shock, Mikoto quickly calmed down. They're here for the thing in your body. It should be. Shinakushina took a deep breath. You should run. Don't worry about me. Minato will notice the movement here, and come quickly. Well, I know. Mikoto obviously knew that she would only be a burden if she stayed. But the masked man's next sentence made her face change dramatically. I was going to capture your son to threaten you. The masked man's gaze shifted from Shinakushina to her. But this woman seems to be able to play the same role. Despicable. Shinakushina's anger was about to materialize. 5 chakra chains extended from her back and flew towards the bordered soil. However, the bordered soil ignored the chains and rushed towards Mikoto's direction. In the next moment, those chakra chains that exuded a powerful aura passed through his body. The ability to turn one's body invisible? Shinakushina guessed. Although this was the first time she came into contact with the masked man, Minato had already told her about his ability. However, Kurama shouted in her space of consciousness. No, Shinakushina, you're under an illusion. Be careful of the man wearing the Reaper's mask. What? I was caught in a Jinjutsu, when? Kushina looked at the person who was wearing the Shinigami's mask, who she had ignored all this time. As a perfect Jinchuriki, she shouldn't need to worry about Jinjutsu. The moment she was under an illusion, Kurama should have disturbed the flow of chakra and awakened her. Why was there a delay this time? Sensing Shinakushina's doubts, Kurama said with some uncertainty. I seem to be under an illusion too. What? His Jinjutsu can actually affect you through the space of consciousness. Shinakushina was shocked. Is it another Uchiha Madara? No, the feeling he gives me is completely different from Uchiha Madara. Kurama's tone was fearful. Uchiha Madara used Jinjutsu to forcibly control me. In the case of external interference, I can resist, but this man's Jinjutsu, I can't even tell if I'm under an illusion or not. He's so powerful. Shinakushina was shocked and anxious. Mikoto was in danger. She also wanted to force a move, but the previous scene made her hesitate. The opponent's Jinjutsu just made her misjudge the enemy's position. What if the enemy she saw this time was actually Mikoto? Suddenly, a light flashed and Shinakushina quickly asked, Kurama, can't you perceive malice? Kurama's voice was dignified. That's the most terrible thing. I can't feel any malice from him. Shinakushina didn't have time to be shocked and asked again. What about the Uzumaki? Can he perceive it? Kurama was surprised. How can this guy have malice one moment and not the next? Is there something wrong with his brain? Shinakushina had some doubts in her heart, but she didn't care so much. From now on, don't worry about what I see and hear. Just tell me the location of the malice. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.